Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
This episode is brought to you by Chevy Silverado. When it's time for you to ditch the blacktop and head off-road, do it in a truck that says no to nothing. The Chevy Silverado Trail Boss. Get the rugged capability of its Z71 suspension and 2-inch factory lift. Plus, impressive torque and towing capacity thanks to an available Duramax 3-liter turbo diesel engine. Where other trucks call it quits, you'll just be getting started. Visit Chevy.com to learn more.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to Peak Northwest, an outdoors and travel podcast by the Oregonian and Oregon Live, dedicated to the adventure and exploration of our beautiful Pacific Northwest. I'm Jamie Hale.
And I'm Kiara Profena. Together we take you to some of the most beautiful and interesting destinations in our region, discussing where to go, what to do, and places to see. And today we're diving into the colorful blooms of some of Oregon's best wildflower hikes.
That's right. It is mid-spring, and that means it's time for all the green hillsides to pop with hues of purple and yellow and white, pink and red, and probably some other colors too. And it's time for us to get outside and enjoy all of that color.
Yeah, I am super excited about this season. I've not really been in too many wildflower, rich areas. So I'm excited to hear about your recommendations and where I should check out, especially as first timer.
So San Antonio is not a big wildflower spot, is what you're saying?
No. I mean, there's definitely some places. Everything's usually dead is the problem, and brown. But during the springtime, we do get a bunch of bluebonnets. That's the state flower, right? And I'm pretty sure it's just people planting them on the highway. But they are everywhere in the spring. So, and they're a beautiful flower. They're gorgeous. But that's kind of I feel that's mostly it. There's not a ton of wildflower places or places where you can get a lot of variety. You're mostly just this is the state flower. This is Texas. You're going to look at the state flower and that's it. So I love that there's more variety up here, especially.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a place like Portland and in the suburbs and cities and towns, you get all of the planted wildflowers, not wildflowers, the planted flowers. You get everyone in the yards, you get the cherry blossoms, magnolias, all kinds of stuff. And then you have what's happening in nature. And earlier in the spring, we had the trilliums popping up in the forest, which is one of my favorite flowers. You know about the trillium flower?
No.
It's a very small flower that grows at the base of trees and in forests and shady areas. And it's a little sort of 3-petaled, typically white flower. It's very cute. It's very sweet. It takes something 3 years for the flower to develop to the point where it can bloom. Mm-hmm. So they're very sort of sensitive, but you can find them everywhere in Portland in March and April. But then once we get to late April through early June, this is Columbia River Gorge wildflower time. And this is where it is a whole other level of wildflower experience.
Yeah, I'm super psyched for that. I've been already getting the TikToks on my For You page of people from last year hiking through the wildflowers and being this is the best place to go wildflower hiking. And there's 10 different recommendations that are all the best place.
Well, we're going to help you out today. I've got lots of wildflower recommendations to help you on your first time exploration of wildflowers in this area. So when we're talking about wildflower hikes, we're basically talking about the Columbia River Gorge. Mm-hmm. There's reasons why that is a good wildflower area that, as far as I know, has to do with sunny, grassy hillsides that are not super shaded out. That get the right level of moisture or whatever. So when you're looking for wildflower areas, you're looking for sort of these more open areas, meadows, hillsides. So you have a lot of these hillsides in the gorge. Once you get out of sort of the cliff waterfall section, You get out of the waterfall corridor and you get into the wildflower corridor, basically.
Gotcha.
So as we're talking about wildflower hikes in the gorge, we'll start there. We'll circle back to some non-gorge stuff later, but it's really all about the Columbia Gorge here. The first one that comes to mind for people is Dog Mountain.
Right.
Do you have any idea about Dog Mountain?
I've seen a lot of pictures and I've heard a lot of people talking about it.
What are they saying?
Just that it's like this beautiful, gorgeous place to go hiking, and it looks like you're just in this like spring field of flowers, all kinds of colors and shapes, and seems like magical a little bit.
I mean, it's great. It's really incredible views. It's pretty sort of like these steep hillsides covered in flowers. Really, really just like covered in flowers. The thing about Dog Mountain is that a lot of people go there because they see that without realizing like how difficult of a hike it is. I have a friend, former colleague here, who likes to call it sweating like a dog mountain. It is the first section of it in particular is very difficult. It's just steep. It's just a very steep hike to begin.
Okay.
So you get a lot of people who go up there in their flip-flops, with their one bottle of water and nothing else. And they get like up like the first 10 switchbacks and they're like, oh, this is, I'm done actually.
I guess we're not seeing the wildflowers today.
Yeah. And you got to get up there to see the wildflowers. So you just have to prepare yourself to like do some hiking, some serious hiking.
I'm kind of up for that challenge. I feel like I'm in my challenging hiking era.
Oh, totally.
So
yeah.
I feel like that sounds actually really fun. Only makes me want to do it more. Have you hiked Dog Mountain?
Several times, yeah.
Okay.
It's great. I love Dog Mountain. I love that climb at the beginning. It's like a great way to start. And once you get to the top, it feels really rewarding.
Right.
It's just, I mean, the one time I went in wildflower season, like in the thrust of it, was also like this super foggy day. So I got like all the wildflowers just hiking through like this like veil of fog with all the yellow balsam root flowers just sort of like popping out of the mist.
That sounds really cool, actually.
It was pretty cool. I loved it. I was like, this is not what I expected or was hoping for, but it's everything I want right now.
Right? They knew what you needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it like how long is that hike?
To get to the top, it's about 7 miles.
Okay.
Top and back, 7 miles.
Okay.
So it's not too hard, but again, it's really front loaded.
Yeah.
So once you get through the first couple of miles, it does get a little bit easier. But you just have to like hike these like really steep switchbacks for a bit.
Okay.
And it's not like no scrambling, right? It's like it's trail. It is like safe trail to hike. It is just relentless.
Yeah.
One thing to know about Dog Mountain is that they do have seasonal permits there. So if you're going to hike there, you do need a permit for your car. It's required on Saturdays and Sundays between April 26th and June 15. That's this year, as well as on Memorial Day on May 26th. So you can get those permits online at recreation.gov. They're not that expensive. They're just a couple bucks. You also do need like a valid parking pass you normally would have. So this is like an additional permit on top of like the parking pass. But if you have like, a Northwest Forest Pass, or you have, any kind of federal lands pass, that'll do. You can also buy one of those online too. So getting to Dog Mountain requires a little bit more effort in many ways. You can also, though, get a shuttle. That's the thing. In wildflower season, it gets very busy.
Right.
Parking can be very limited, which is one of the reasons they introduced this permit system to begin with, so people don't park on the shoulder of the highway. But if you don't want to mess with that, you can just take a shuttle from the Skamania County Fairgrounds, which is just in Stevenson, the town nearby. That runs like every 30 minutes from like 7:30 to 5 on weekends during the permitting system. You get in the shuttle, you get a free permit. They take you there, they take you back. No big deal.
That sounds pretty ideal.
It's a great way to do it. I think a lot of people don't do it because I don't know, maybe we're in a society where people are very much like individualistic. I'm going to take my car and I'm going to go there and have the freedom with that. But like the shuttle's a great deal.
I love shuttles. I love public transportation. I just hate driving. So
yeah,
I think
there you go.
Sounds great for me.
So Dog Mountain, definitely do it. It sounds like that's at the top of this list. I want to put it at the top of your list because it's also at the top of many people's lists. But that does mean it is like you're going to see a lot of other people there.
Gotcha. And the permits are just during the weekends, you said?
Yeah, Saturdays and Sundays, with the exception of Memorial Day. Yeah,
right.
Just during this, this main sort of wildflower season. So Dog Mountain is sort of at the top of the list. Then we get into what I've called the Wildflower Corridor, which is this different section a little bit farther into the gorge, a little farther east. Mm-hmm. It's like this 7-mile stretch of river between Hood River and the Dalles, where there's like 6 distinct places that you can see really good blooms. There's some of them, there's like harder hikes, there's easier ones. It's like this really good spot where just like the geography of the area just works really well for flowers.
And so I don't know too much about the wildflowers, but are they all like pretty similar across the hikes, or are you kind of getting different flowers in different places? How does that work?
It's a great question. The primary flower we have out here is yellow balsam root. Mm-hmm. So these are like, you're going to see in big clusters. You see the hills just covered in yellow flowers. That's the balsam root flower. You also see these purple lupins that are everywhere, sort of more tall flowers. Those are really common. But then there's all kinds of other stuff. Those are sort of the main 2, though. You'll see up in higher elevations, red paintbrush. You'll see a few of those every now and then. They're very cool. I love that flower. But otherwise, there's a lot of other little white guys whose name I don't know, little pink guys whose name I don't know. There's just a bunch of little flowers kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
But mostly it's that balsam root that you're going to see.
Gotcha.
So when we're in this corridor, that's kind of, it's sort of that yellow purple on the green hillside. That is like your canvas. That is your hue. So once we're in that corridor, I mean, I won't go into all 6 here, mm-hmm. but just rattling off a couple here. Rowena Crest is one of my favorites. This is home to like the Tom McCall Preserve. Okay. I think that's a nature conservancy spot. And Rowena Crest, but it's great because you can just drive up, park if there's parking, mm-hmm. and you can just sort of walk off into these really easy trails where there's just like, you're walking down a path and you're surrounded by flowers, and you can walk right up to a cliff. So you get kind of these river views, wildflowers, and you can just wander around. People do. It's a really good spot to do that. Or you can go up through the Tom McCall Preserve to do this like 3.6 mile up and back hike mm-hmm. to McCall Point, which is sort of the highest point there on Rowena Crest. So there's this opportunity to do this hike, or to just sort of do this like wandering through the wildflowers thing, which I really love.
That's nice. A good, more like accessible. Don't need to be out there to go hiking crazy distance.
Exactly. So this is like one of my go-to spots for that purpose. If I have like people coming from out of town, mm-hmm. they want to see some flowers, and we're like, let's go to Hood River, let's get something to eat, let's go out to the wildflowers, try to go maybe like in the, late afternoon when some crowds maybe have died down. Like between like when the morning crowds have left and the sunset people haven't gotten there yet, to me, that's a sweet spot I try to hit a lot of times.
What, like mid-afternoon?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. People love sunrise, sunset pictures of the wildflowers. You get like a view of the mountains, you get the sunsets. I mean, it's great, obviously, but you're going to have people there. And people love to be there first thing in the morning because they want to be the first ones there. So you just kind of let the rush happen and then kind of sneak in at the end.
Gotcha.
That's how I try to do it.
Well, still like it's beautiful and like warm, especially during that time. It sounds great.
Yeah, if it's not too hot, which it's true. I mean, if you're like a first thing in the morning person, you want to do that, more power to you. I'm not going to get up at 6 a.m. to drive out there. I don't believe in that.
Unfortunately,
personally. That
sounds like something I would do.
So the next one on my list here in this wildflower corridor is the Mosier Plateau. It's just sort of a newer hike that's opened. It opened in 2013 to the public, and it's just this little 3-mile hike. It's sort of a moderate hike in the town of Mosier. Last time I was there, the parking area was pretty small, which is sort of the biggest downside. It's just sort of once you kind of get off 84 and you drive into Mosier, you cross this little wooden bridge and there's like a little pullout. And from there you can hike up this trail, but it's a beautiful trail. There's like a little waterfall. There's, there's an old cemetery there, and you climb up finally onto this like plateau itself, which just has like so many flowers and such a good view of the river. There's some pictures I took there when I went up there last time that I always come back to. Just an incredible view, incredible flowers. I love Mosier Plateau.
Anything that kind of sets it apart from Rowena Crest, or these are kind of both kind of similar-ish?
It's like mini Rowena Crest.
Okay.
It's a different kind of view. I like this view better. There's something, I'm speaking like as a photographer, like I like just the framing of it in a certain way, the way that you get the look you get of the river, I just like really well. But it is smaller, and it is, I think, much more prone to overcrowding. This is a good one if you're out midweek and you want to just sneak something in real quick. Mosier Plateau is a great spot to do that.
Got it.
Gosh, there's so many. Oh my goodness. Okay. Still in the wildflower corridor, Catherine Creek. So this is a bit farther east, on the Washington side of the river. I should have been saying this all along, but the Washington side of the river, Catherine Creek has a couple of features that I really like. There's 2 different ways to hike it. Sort of what we think of as maybe the main hike is this like 3.4 mile hike that kind of goes up into like these cliffs. It's called the Catherine Creek Arch. Leads to this cool rock formation, these beautiful meadows. You just kind of have, it's like a nice hike with flowers just kind of everywhere. And then there's also this great universal access loop hike that's just kind of on the other side of the highway. It's like 1.2 miles. It's all paved. It's great for people of all abilities. So if you have anyone with you who has mobility issues, or like you have a stroller, or you just want to like flat terrain, it has really good views of wildflowers and the river and the mountain. It's like a really good spot to go. Or if you just like want a quick little walk and you don't want to necessarily get your hiking boots on, perfect spot for it.
And is this the only one in Washington?
No, there's the ones we've previously mentioned that are in Washington are Dog Mountain, I guess in this, and Catherine Creek.
Okay.
Rowena Crest and Mosier Plateau are both on the Oregon side of the river.
Got it.
And from now on, we'll mention that.
Good to know. Important if you're driving out there.
So still in the same area, because again, this is such a good area for wildflowers, is one of my like, whenever people are like, oh, it's a holiday weekend, it's going to be crazy. Where can I go where there's not going to be any people? Lyle Cherry Orchard. This is, again, it's farther east. This is on the Washington side of the river.
Okay.
Farther east, just outside the town of Lyle. This is a great hike. I love it anyway. It's not for everybody. I will lead off by saying there is a lot of poison ivy and poison oak. This is a really interesting place where poison ivy and oak merge into one plant.
Oh, lovely.
Like, west of there, it's poison oak. East of there is poison ivy. And here it's like a hybrid, which I just find so interesting. Don't touch any of it. Yeah. It's easy. Wear long pants. Don't touch any of it. So there is that. You might find some ticks. You might see some rattlesnakes later in the season. We're a little early for it, but you just have to sort of watch out for those. And if you're cool with all of that, it's a great hike.
Okay.
It's really, really nice. It's about 5 miles. It's moderate. It goes up these hills with incredible views looking both ways down the river. It's like a little bit higher up and you get these really great views. And then it goes through an old cherry orchard and ascends this sort of grassy hillside. So it's a great spot for wildflowers of all kinds. You just have to accept that there may be some plants or animals that you don't want to run into.
Yeah.
I've seen all of it there. It's fine. The rattlesnake, you just give a wide berth, you give it space, and you just don't worry about it. The thing is, they have a mechanism when they tell you if they notice you. So you just listen for that.
Yes.
You're from.
I'm used to rattlesnakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get it.
I don't think I've actually seen one, but we used to have a lot of rattlesnake skins lying around places.
Yeah.
So I feel like that doesn't deter me, but also sounds like a really good distance. 5 miles is like a nice solid challenge. Is the cherry orchard like this not active sort of orchard anymore?
It's like an old cherry orchard.
Okay.
It's like at some point in some pioneer history, someone planted it there.
Cool.
And this just kind of goes through it. It's like one of these like hodgepodge of like lands that's been purchased that's now like this public land.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool hike. This is one I used to go to like every summer. I've sent a lot of people out there for holiday weekends, and they all come back and say, "Oh yeah, there's no one there." There's a big parking lot. Like it's a great spot that is under the radar, and it doesn't matter how many times I talk about it, it stays under the radar for some reason.
Yes, you're not giving it as much attention as you think you are.
I don't know. Some places don't want to be seen, I think, is maybe the case. So that's kind of like the wildflower corridor. But I do want to shout out a spot that's just a little bit farther east from there that is maybe one of the best wildflower hikes in the gorge, which is Dalles Mountain Ranch.
Ooh.
This is just, it's very open. It's an old cattle ranch that is now part of Columbia Hills State Park in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff at Columbia Hills. There's actually some really cool, if you get a chance to go on the petroglyph tour, you can see some really cool petroglyphs. You should like sign up for it. But there's the famous petroglyph there, She Who Watches, at Columbia Hills, which is really cool. Definitely get a chance to see that if you can. But kind of up the hill more, there is Dalles Mountain Ranch. So like I said, former cattle ranch. It's a lot of like open grassy area.
Mm-hmm.
Bring your sunscreen. I speak from experience. Because it's like, oh, it's May, it's early in the season. Oh, it's probably fine. No. It gets hot easily and quickly, and you're going to start shedding layers and just burn.
It's a good tip to know.
Yeah, but it's, there's a couple different ways to do it. There's a 5-mile loop from this upper trailhead. There's a 7-mile loop from the lower trailhead. But either way, you're going to pass through a lot of these hillsides with really good views of Mount Hood and the Columbia River.
Ooh,
so if you want to see flowers, mountain, like if that's a picture, like again, as a photographer, is a picture I wanted, and I knew that's a place to get it. So Dalles Mountain Ranch, you can get that and more and so much. It's just like these meadows bursting with flowers.
So is this near the Dalles?
Yeah, it's basically, it's across the river and then a little farther east.
Okay.
So it's it's probably a 15 or 20 minute drive, I'm gonna guess without checking. It's close by, but that's sort of like kind of your eastern range of these wildflower hikes. Then you start getting more into the high desert and things start changing a little bit.
Right.
Of course, we talk about the gorge as this great wildflower paradise because it is, but there are obviously some non-gorge spots you can go if you want to see some other kinds of blooms or just maybe a little bit closer. My favorite spot is the Camassia Nature Preserve. And this is a spot that is in West Lynn, just across the river from Oregon City. It's a little place, but it has this beautiful blooms of flowers. It's a 26-acre nature preserve with more than 300 plant species. And the wildflowers bloom there in like April and May, and it just turns this little grassy plateau into this like beautiful, colorful area. Again, Nature Conservancy also manages this spot. It's kind of tucked away in plain sight. It's like on one side is like I-205, and the other side is like Westland High School. Mm-hmm. So like whenever I hike there, I always see like high school kids walking through with their backpacks and stuff, or they're skipping school or something. I don't know.
I would skip school to see the wildflowers.
What a great reason to skip school.
Right?
Be like,
not doing anything like delinquent, but just looking at flowers.
I just didn't want to go to class. I want to just go look at some flowers. You can't fault a kid for that.
Especially when it's so close.
Exactly. It's also walking distance from downtown Oregon City.
Okay,
which is great. So I've done the thing where like I've like hung out in downtown Oregon City, taken the elevator up to the promenade and like done the little downtown shops and then walked across the river. It's like a little bit of a walk, but it is definitely doable. So if you want to do like a lot of like city walking, you can definitely get over there. It's also just a really cool place to hike. Flowers aside, there's like these little boardwalks that run through a forest. There's like a lot of little trails that kind of wind through and in. So there's like kind of a main loop, and then off the loop, you have all these spokes that go to places. Like one goes to the high school or to neighborhoods or whatever. So you can kind of just, poke around and find all these little views and little hidden tucked away corridors.
Just like a nice park to go to in general, sounds like.
Exactly. So Camassia Nature Preserve in West Lynn, great spot. I do recommend it. A couple more we'll shout out here. Cooper Mountain is a spot. I've actually never been to Cooper Mountain. It's out there in Washington County. It's part of the Tualatin Hills Parks and Recreation District. It's known as sort of an earlier wildflower spot, so like early April through May into early June. That's it. Again, we kind of have like this big open meadow situation, right? Cooper Mountain's like a really popular spot for people who are hiking, who live out in like, Beaverton area, to go hiking out there. You can do the whole thing, this whole loop in like 3 miles. It's easy. So it's like a great spot for people just to go take a walk. Family friendly. There's a lot of like infrastructure that is like, designed for like people to learn about nature, a lot of interpretive signs and that kind of thing. So Cooper Mountain's got a lot of it. And, apparently some good wildflowers in the spring.
Planning on going out there anytime soon?
I should. I really should.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
We were just talking before we recorded about like, I feeling like I need to go on a hike. I need to find a spot. But I'm always trying to find spots that I haven't been to before, and which there's plenty of. People are always like, "Oh, you've been doing this for so long. I'm sure you've been everywhere." And like, yes and no, but like, there's just so many places to hike. You can't do it all in a lifetime, let alone in 10 years.
Is this the only one that you haven't been to on this list so far?
Yes.
Wow. It seems like you kind of have to.
Yeah. Maybe so. Last one to shout out is Mary's Peak. Mary's Peak is a really cool spot. It is more of like a people think about it as like a mountain, sort of a climb. It's out there, sort of closer to the coast. It's just outside of Corvallis. And it's a pretty good little hike. I have not done this in wildflower season. I've done it a little bit earlier in the season. But you can do a great hike up to the summit in just like 1.5 miles. Or you can sort of bump around these meadows for a couple of miles. I am guessing that you're going to find wildflowers in either hike that you do. But if I was going to see wildflowers, I would definitely do this meadow edge loop that is a couple miles. I mean, we're talking about sun-drenched meadows with wildflowers. Right. I imagine that's where you're going to see a lot of stuff. But Mary's Peak, you've got wildflowers there mid-May through the end of June. So it's sort of in your later end because it's at a higher elevation. So there's a bunch of good opportunities to see stuff there, and some obviously great Coast Range views in all directions. The top of Mary's Peak is like a great viewpoint to just see everywhere.
That sounds really nice. And so out of all of these spots, is there one that you're most excited to go to this year?
Boy, again, it's tough. I'm gonna turn this back around because we started this by you saying you've never been on a wildflower hike, you want to go to one. Is there anything on this list that you feel like you're excited to go to this year?
Well, I think I went into it really wanting to go to Dog Mountain, and I think your description of it just made me want to go more. So I feel like that's kind of sold me on that. But now I am very much considering a couple wildflower hikes, actually. I want to go to the Lyle Cherry Orchard. That sounds really nice. I think like the idea of going through like the cherry orchard and then also having like these natural obstacles to deal with just kind of sounds intriguing to me. And also Dalles Mountain Ranch. I think that one also was a little intriguing. But yeah, since I've never done this, I feel like I should do a couple gorge hikes and really like experience this and try to get as many people out there as I can. I know I have a few friends that were mentioning wanting to go to Dog Mountain, so I think we'll definitely have to make that a possibility. Totally. Carpool to Dog Mountain or take the shuttle. Right. As the case may be. A great way to go up there. I mean, gosh, just get your. I mean, you've been training. You're set. But make sure you bring everything. Kind of feel like I'm a dad now. Make sure you bring your water and your first aid kit. But it's true. A lot of folks think wildflowers. They want to just go out there and they want to get their pictures for Instagram or whatever, which is great, and I love that. And you got to make sure you're prepared for stuff. So I love this idea. You've got a lot of like a Washington wildflower a situation going on. Dog Mountain, Dalles Mountain Ranch, and Cherry Orchard. Oh yeah, I guess so. I mean, that could theoretically be a one-day thing, but that might be a lot. We should do like a half marathon of wildflower hikes in one day.
We've got the season. We're kind of at the sort of the beginning of the season now. You've got about a month or so. Mm-hmm. So I love May as like sort of like the time to go do this.
Right.
You know, so a weekend trip out there, paired with like a stop in Hood River. I mean, gosh, I always try to stop at Solstice Pizza in Hood River, no matter where I'm going in that area. Mm-hmm. If you've not been to Solstice Pizza,
I have not.
You should check it out. This is not a podcast advertised by Solstice Pizza, but like it's just a great wood fire pizza spot that is like my go-to place to eat in Hood River every time I'm there.
Well, that sounds pretty good. I know there's a few places on the way that would be good stops.
Oh yeah, there's so many good spots. But Wildflowers, I don't know. So it sounds like you're excited. It sounds like you're into it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think I have to make it happen this year. Just need to find that time.
I can't wait to see the pictures.
When is like the latest some of these places will have wildflowers, just to make sure I get in before then?
I would try to get in by early June at the latest. It's going to depend on weather.
Right.
I mean, we're just sort of getting out of the colder, wetter season into like the sunnier season. As we're recording this, mm-hmm. It's probably a bit sunnier now when this comes out. So I think things are really going to start popping. So I mean, May again is kind of the time to go. But if you wait too long, you can always just go higher in the higher elevation.
Right.
Go up the slopes of Mount Hood, you can find more, or go up to Mount Adams. I mean, if you really want to talk about wildflowers, you can really talk about alpine wildflowers as a whole other experience. Mm-hmm. Going up into the mountains, you can find just incredible blooms up there that you might share with mosquitoes, but still a lot of great stuff.
Good to know for the procrastinators.
Yes. If you want to avoid the bugs, go early.
Okay.
Well, I'm so excited to hear back about your wildflower adventures. I'm so glad that you're getting a chance to step out of the deserts mm-hmm. of Texas to experience all the Pacific Northwest has to offer.
Glad to have an expert's opinion kind of keeping me on track.
So happy to help, honestly. Well, folks, that will do it for us for today. Until next time, you can watch our videos on the Oregonians YouTube channel and view all of our travel and outdoors coverage on OregonLive.com/travel, as well as HereIsOregon.com.
Please leave us a rating or review if you enjoy the show, and if you want to support this podcast as well as our local journalism, please consider a subscription to Oregon Live. You can find details at OregonLive.com/podsupport. Also, if you're a fan of the show and you're interested in potentially sponsoring it, you can get in touch with our marketing people at advertise@oregonian.com. This episode of the show is produced by me alongside Jamie Hale and Vicky Connor.
Stay safe and happy travels, everyone. Until next time, we leave you with this 10 seconds of Zen.